we're going to work on a basic still life, and the point of this assignment is to control light and see how shadows work, the angles of light, and create some sort of nice setup. I just have some simple Disney characters here. As you can see, I've got a couple reflectors, I've got a phone that puts out some light, and I've got a couple flashlights. Also in the back left corner, I've got a lamp that I'm going to use as well. So one of the first things you want to do is get your setup and try your best to do some sort of dark room so you're not getting any of the ambient light. So right now the only light that I have coming on is that lamp, so I can pretty much see what I'm doing. So then we're going to set our camera up on some sort of hard surface. I've got a tripod, but you can put it on a table or something. Okay, so then on my camera, I'm going to turn my ISO as low as it goes. I know that most of my light is light bulbs, so incandescent. So I'm going to turn that on. And then the last thing I'm going to do is turn my timer on to 2 seconds, because I know I'm going to have some slow shutter speeds, and I want to make sure that I'm not shaking the camera at all. And then also make sure that my flash is turned off, because we don't want to flash these items, we just want the light that we're putting on these objects. Okay, so from here we've got our objects, and you can see that the only light on them now is the backlight. So what we could do is, as you can see, it's kind of a silhouette in the front. You could just use something white and reflect some light on them. See how it brightens Hercules up? The optimal with reflectors, if you get a large piece of foam core board, a white one, and then you put tin foil on the other side. If you want more light than that white is giving you, you can reflect with that. So one simple light source coming from the rear can do that. Or you can do it vice versa. Put the light coming to the front and then reflect from the back. Something also that these reflectors can do, if you're not using them to actually reflect the light, you can flag some of the light. If you want to keep some of the light off a certain part of your scene, you can do that and angle your light. If you want to warm up your scene, instead of white paper you have blue or red or something, it's going to reflect that color of light onto your object if you want to do that. If you have some sort of translucent colored material, if you think of theater or rock shows or bands, they have those colored gels that are on top of the light. Around Christmas time and Easter they sell those red, blue, pink saran wraps. You could cover your flashlight in one of those and project that color either on your characters here, or you could put that color on the background like we talked about with the coconut and the blue background. Okay, so right now we have our scene set up. So on my camera, I'll take a couple photos so you can see. So what I'm going to do is just let it focus on it, hold the shutter down, and it's saying of course it's going to be a slow shutter speed at about ½ a second. So we'll let it take that photo. And there it goes. Okay, so as you can see, everyone's pretty much in silhouette. Because there's so much white in the background, it's reading off that. And I think it's almost overexposed. So of course I can go in and force my camera to be less exposed. So a little bit more in silhouette. So we'll take that photo. Okay, so that's what we get, and as you can see around the left sides of these objects, you're getting a little bit of that light creeping over. Like I said, with theater or music shows, you always have backlights because it makes the object stand out from the background. So let's say we do completely the opposite. I'm just going to use a flashlight to illuminate these guys, or a couple of them, and turn this off. And it's going to be hard to hold it on here, but we'll see what happens. Okay, and I'll put these up. So on that one, you can see that just the foreground was lit up, the background was not. We're also concentrating on some of our shadows that we want. Maybe we want to put our shadows in a certain spot. So we'll try this one again and throw our shadow onto the background. And you can see that shadow on the back there. Now what we'll do, if we turn on our backlight, and then we'll have our front light. Try this again. Okay, so we get that rim light on the left-hand side, and then we can also see what's in the foreground. So again, this exercise is simply playing around with light and how it affects certain things. What you can do also, let's say our backlight is way too bright and our shutter is saying that it's going to be a 2-second or a 5-second exposure. What you can do after, let's see, we'll turn our exposure up, so we're forcing our shutter to be open longer. And we know that backlight is too bright. It's telling us it's going to be 1 second. So after my shutter closes, I can turn that light off halfway through the exposure. I'm getting half the amount of light. Okay, right now, it's saying our exposure needs to be 1 second to get the amount of light. And we can draw around a little bit on there, and it'll pick up in different places. That's the goal of this assignment. Move your lights around, try different light sources, try out some fun shadows. If you look at the Flickr photo stream and you go about to page 5 of our photo stream, you'll see what some of the students did last year. Now for this, we're going to work on window light. And window light is just that, the light that comes in from outside. And what we don't want is sunlight, a ray of sunlight coming in and hitting our objects. The shadows that are on an object are completely proportionate to the size of the light source. Think of a bright sunny day with no clouds. The sun is a very, very tiny object, and what size of the shadow, or how harsh are the shadows? They're very, very harsh on an object. Whereas an overcast day, whereas the light source is the size of the entire sky, it's very, very soft shadows. The same as when you're photographing someone in the shade. Even though the sun isn't hitting them, there's still light on them. That's why we can see them. And all that light is being reflected off everything else around that person or that object. The same with window light. There's very, very soft, nice, pleasant shadows here. If there's barely any shadows at all that are coming off these objects, because the light that is coming through the window is reflected off all the surfaces that are outside. So that's one of the beauties of window light. So I have a basic setup here. And the main thing with the window light is using some of the reflectors that hopefully you've made. Okay, so we'll zoom in on the camera. Okay, so we have our composition. Nice semi-solid background, a couple lines running through it. Hopefully we're going to get some depth of field here. So, same settings, the lowest ISO our camera allows. I've turned on the timer. I have now put it to sun white balance, no flash. Okay, so here's with the window light coming in with no additional help or lighting. Okay, and as you can see on here, this light right here, you can see it in a lot of reflective objects as well as in people's eyes. That's called a catch light. And you can see the shape of the light source as well as the direction of the light source. So you can always do some investigative photography if you ever see those white lights in someone's eyes, where the light source came from and the shape of that light source. Okay, so now we've got that one. And of course, again, if we want to tell it to be darker or lighter, I'm going to tell mine to be a little bit darker. And then now I'm going to add a reflector on this side, and we're going to take that one. Okay, so now we can see another catch light in there because we have a reflective object. And we can even, so you can even see me moving my reflector around in that. It's also something to be careful of when you're taking photographs, whether it's a mirror, a window, sunglasses, anything that reflects. Okay, you can also, I'm going to put my reflector up above to the back and reflect some of that light on that top corner up there. And we'll just see how that looks like. Okay, so that's basically the thought of window light. One of your assignments is going to be that you need to use window light to photograph an object. So I want you to see the very, very cheap 10-cent method way of adding an additional light source and using window light. It's great for, you'll see a million fruit bowls done this way, but also there's a lot of people that are photographed in this manner because you just need someone to stand next to a window. It's a readily available light source. It's a free light source as well. So I hope you learned something. If you have any questions about this, let me know. Of course, you can YouTube a million tutorials on still lifes. Please use Flickr as a source of getting some ideas for this setup, and hopefully you all do something that inspires you. If it's a passion or a hobby, a collection of items that you have that you want to put together and take some photos of it. So I'm really interested in seeing what you can do, and I also hope this helps you do some sort of setup maybe for your photo story that you, like with Victoria's images with the wedding, maybe those cards or something, she's going to put those together in a different manner and create something. Let me know if you have any questions.